if you look at the data in the Ministry of Gender, the Mount Kenya region ranks highest in uptake of the Women Enterprise Fund and the lowest in loan delinquency. And therefore, when you begin to look at this, women in the villages as whatever activity they're taking on as business activities, essentially what you're doing is killing that sector. As Mount Kenya leaders, we're also very aware that this regime would like to kill our small businesses. If you go through the finance bill, once again, if you sell chai and mandazi, those small vibandas that we have in the village, and you only sell 1,300 shillings a day, those are 10, 12 cups of tea and mandazi in the village, you will now be paying to this government about 15,000 shillings a year. So ideally, we see a regime that is out to kill our Mount Kenya businesses, that is going for women, I mean, in very mundane and desperate things like trying to charge wigs and weaves and very small, desperate measures. Most of those businesses that sell those wigs and do those beauty activity are owned and run by women. So as women of Mount Kenya, we are seeing a regime that is out to cut our businesses, that is out to hurt our activities as women. And therefore, we want to call them out at these very early opportunities to tell them we will not stop to say that, and we will not be intimidated to say that for an illegitimate regime, I think you have a lot of guts to do what you're doing. I thank you very much.
Governor Derito.
Thank you very much. Let me say to you a bit in Kikuyu. You know, hiti ndireaga mwana, okay? No egenda kuria mwana yajagia kuga mwana ucio hiana mburi, okay? So in our region there, the hyena does not eat its own child. But when the hyena is tempted to eat its own child, it begins to say that this child is smelling like a goat. There can be no doubt in your minds the reason our young people are being branded mungeke, the reason they are being branded as drunkards is because there is some ill intent on them. And that intention, my colleague Karogo has explained to you, including the little that they earn. So a young person who is doing digital creation, that maybe they are making a website for you, or they are making some promotion on TikTok or Instagram or something like this, will now be paying withholding tax, not at the normal rate of 5%, which others pay as professionals. But these young people will now, if this bill were to be passed, will be paying 15%, 3 times what other professionals do. It must be clear, certainly to all of us, that young people in Mount Kenya are being targeted very, very specifically, both economically and profiled, so that perhaps extrajudicial killings can now resurface. And we want to say to the entire world, and we hope you as communicators help us to tell the whole world, watch out. Honorable Mwathi. Karibu.
Thank you very much. Let me also join my colleagues and the leaders to also emphasize on the point that I have made about the youth in Mount Kenya. And I want to particularly speak to those youth. That yes, you youth, you are very good. Yes, you said you wake up to go and support a government that you thought was taking you to prosperity. But today, 8 months later, you are now being branded all manner of words. That you are not useful to that government cannot be gainsaid, because it means the government was only using you to get to power. And once they get that power, you then become useless. But I also quickly ask, what is this that they know that they don't need the youth in future? There must be a grand plan And that grand plan is plan for their basket of votes as they finish our youth. It is time for us, you youth who belong to this community, to stand up to be counted. Say no to this repressive regime. Secondly, let me speak to the members of parliament, because I was there and I'm a former member of parliament for Limuru. And I'm known for having taken a motion in parliament when it was first put under camera, talking about how our youth were being killed. And I know I received threats then from some people, I don't know whether they were police, saying that I was the next in line. If talking about the youth now will put me next on line, I'm ready. Our members of parliament, speak up for those youth. Our members of parliament, stand by those who voted for you. I heard talk yesterday, word yesterday, that they are waiting to be shown the way to vote about the finance bill. And I hasten to add, you decide who among the ones who are telling you to vote for it, yes, and those who on the ground are telling you, maisha ni ngumu, musipige yes, tunyanyaswe. Decide who voted for you. Then you can vote the way you'll vote. But Thursday is the defining moment for you, member of parliament, who wants to put a huge baggage on the people who elected you. And all of us who are out here, including those who are electing or who elected the members, should take up upon ourselves to deal with them once they pass that bill. Yes, I thank you.
The party leader, Roots, Professor Wajakoya.
Baba, Honorable Martha Karua, and other party leaders, for me, I'm going to look at this issue in a very critical way because I've been very much involved in the Mungiki issue. I remember in 1997, when I was practicing law in UK, the issue of Mungiki became very apparent, which informed us to find out what we were going to do with that brutal regime of President Moi, when he wanted to castrate all young Kikuyu males of the ages of 13 and 19. When he circled them and killed many of them, and many of them were thrown in Karura Forest, many of them were thrown in Gong Forest. In addition to that, and you'll allow me to speak because I have a very strong history with the Mungiki issue as somebody who led the UN to come into this country. At the same time, Moi was vilifying the young Kikuyu male. He also vilified the Kikuyu women, female, young kids. So I called Koigi Wamwere, who is still alive and who can verify this story. I invited him to come to London with the young Kikuyu males that had come in running away for asylum, and at that particular time, they had been denied asylum. So we had to lobby Kenneth Baker, who was the Prime Minister at that particular time. We had also to lobby Tony Blair and Lord Steele, a great friend of Raila Amolo Odinga. By that time, he was Steele of the Liberal Democrats. We went ahead and also included the Scottish National Party and also other political parties to look into the issue of thematic assassinations and killings of the Kikuyu male, of the Kikuyu young male, and depopulating their women. And this history that we are writing down. As a result of that, we lobbied the United Nations Human Rights Commission, of which they sent our special rapporteur, Professor Philip Sons, who came on a fact-finding mission in this country, and then what he found out was very appalling. He made his report to the United Nations in New York, and then the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in Switzerland came up with guidelines on how to treat asylum seekers from this nation, especially of the Kikuyu origin. And that's why we heard for the first time lots of them being given asylum in the UK. I went ahead and joined the then president of Ghana, Jerry Rawlings, whom we convinced to ship out some of these Mungiki leaders. As a result of that, many of them were shipped to Mozambique, one of them being Ndumiriri, who was shipped out with a Portuguese passport. You can find that out from him. And because of thematic and systematic killings, our lives were put in danger, save for James Orengo and Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, who is sitting here, who came in London, made many trips in London to console with us, with those particular families that had lost their siblings. I hold the former president accountable for the thematic elimination of the Kikuyu community, something that Gachagua is now repeating. And let me assure you that we are appealing to the British government not on cameras. I am appealing to the British government not on cameras, but we know what we are going to do. To ban those who are involved from stepping foot in Britain and EU, to ban those who are spearheading these systematic killings of young Kikuyu men and women from setting foot in Britain, in USA. And I can assure you that when I say it, I mean it. And I know what I'm talking about. And with Baba being here, and the other lawyers being here, and other leaders being here, I can assure you for free that we, having been outside the country, knowing the history of what the Kikuyus did for this country, of what the Kikuyus have done in the entire world, of what the Kikuyus have done to open up the economic development of this country, of how much money is brought in this country through Kenyans in the diaspora, many of them who originated from Mungiki, many of them who remained outside, many of them who suffered, and thank God they have settled in UK, they have settled in the United States, and they are bringing money in the country to improve the economy of this country. Yet some MFs are now taking advantage of political ramifications to kill them. Gachagua is just a small man. You may have the barrel of the gun. You may have all the powers. You may have all the police. But when the day of reckoning comes, you'll be alone. We have seen other leaders who are here before who are used to doing that. Biot being one of them. Where is Biot today? Dead and buried 6 feet under the grave. What about people like those ones you know from Mount Kenya? When you take power and power corrupts you and you start eliminating people, you start cleansing people, you start ethnicization of one community. How do you think Kenyans are feeling about it? How do you think people in Uganda are feeling about it? How do you think the world is looking you at? Kenya was very peaceful until recently when madness came in after stealing the elections. You want us now to come and work with you? Oh, Professor Wajakoya can just be brought. And for those who are being bought, we know them. Time of reckoning will come. We are here to appeal to this government to leave Maina Njenga alone. Leave Maina Njenga alone, because you are just making a mole out of a mountain. Maina Njenga has played his role. Maina Njenga has paid for his whatever. Why would you just take one man, shoot his wives, kill them, shoot at him, and then now you want to disperse those young men? They're hungry. When you see a lion, don't think it is a lion when you can put your finger in its mouth. Gachagua has just put his mouth, he has just put his finger in young men who are hungry, making Kikuyus to fight Kikuyus. How do you think other tribes in this country are feeling like? How do you think the Luos are looking at them? What about the Luyas and the Masais? Oh, Kikuyu sasa wameanza kupigana wenyewe kwa wenyewe. Kikuyus are very peaceful people. I have a daughter from that community. I have friends from that community. In the police, I've been promoted by people from that community. In the last general election, I was financially supported by people from that community. Please give me time. Please. I'm angry. Give me time, because this is something which is going right inside my soul. We cannot allow this. We shall never allow this. And for you who are here, who are related to members of the Kikuyu community, how do you feel when one man who is using taxes belonging to the Kenyan people, who wants to eliminate the entire society, you kill one Kikuyu, 10 are born every day. Moi tried that. Kill 5, 100 are born. These are like the Jewish people. You cannot eliminate. Muzungus tried and they failed. Thank you very much.
I'm sure we will hear from the DAP party leader, Mheshimiwa Waziri wa Marwa. Yake si mrefu sana. You call back.
Asante sana. Kabla tujaleta kinara wetu, baba aweze kuzungumzia hili jambo. Wahenga walisema mbiu ya mgambo ikilia kuna jambo. Na leo tumesikia mbiu ya mgambo ikilia Mlima Kenya. Kwa hivyo kuna jambo. Nataka nishukuru sana viongozi wenzangu kutoka Mlima Kenya ambao wamezungumza hapa. Kwetu wanasema ukificha mgonjwa ama ugonjwa utasikia vilio. Nataka niwashukuru sababu wamekuja kusema kuna shida Mlima Kenya. And it's not a secret that the Kenya Kwanza regime came to power through a pack of lies. And in fact, the 8 months we have seen of the Kenya Kwanza regime is a